And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Whew. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OST. I apologize for the extended break, but we are just waiting for all of round 1 to wrap up, and now we are diving into round number 2. And oh. Are we good? No. Okay, we're good.
Game paused.
Jesus. We had a hard time. Okay. I'm good. Okay, wait. Okay. They can't hear me, but we are good to go. Sorry. So basically, we had a little bit of latency as we were just switching our scenes over, but we are in the game and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alcyone here in the second round of the knockout bracket of ESL Masters Winter Dreamhack Atlanta. We have the German Zerg player, the red Zerg representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Lambo. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Mystery Gaming. It is SHIN. Basically, as the scene was switching, we struggled a little bit. But I'll make sure we can switch our scene earlier just to avoid that from happening. Again, we don't want to be a disturbance to the players. We are getting into our next best of 5 as a reminder, not a best of 3. We just wrapped up with SHIN versus Spirit, and we had a banger of a series. Was back and forth, especially game 1. Game 1 was the highlight of the broadcast so far. We'll see if we can beat it. Again, just long late game between Spirit and SHIN, where Spirit was able to just flex his skill and look damn good doing so. Then from there, SHIN just had his way with him in the early game and just stopped him from really getting out of hand and getting out of control. But now we're here in a ZvZ. And already we have some pretty interesting openers here. But when I say that, it should be Hatch Gas Pool. Yep, Hatch Gas Pool here from both Lambo and SHIN. We have seen certain Zerg players on this map on Alcyone try to rush into this gold base, but alas, we have not seen that yet. That is not going to be the case here for either of our Zerg players, either a blue or red Zerg. So far, standard openers for the time being. We should be getting into a pretty standard game initially here, working towards our third base at least, and getting into our Ling Bane aggression. But we'll keep our eyes on these players. Again, we're letting into Alcyone, a bit of a longer, larger map in the map pool, a lot of bases to be taken, a longer rush distance by ground as well. We have a pretty defendable third and the fourth as well likewise. So this can lead into a longer, more macro-oriented game if we can get up to a solid 3-base economy. But that's a big if. It is very commonplace here in ZvZ to cut workers earlier on. Either Lambo or SHIN are more than willing to do so, more than willing to cut those corners as, oh, I just realized predictions in the chat are open. Sorry, a little bit late to that. Predictions open. So I was meant to do that earlier, but predictions are open in the chat. You can place your bets on how you think this series will progress. Again, it's a best of 5, so plenty of room here, plenty of wiggle room for how you think the series will progress one way or another. One player will advance on, the other will be eliminated from the tournament. And for now, our third bases are being taken. We should soon be seeing our Baliness, and there we go, Baliness here from both Lambo and SHIN. They're both on the way. Both players are going to be scouting each other and confirming. SHIN, he sees the Baliness. Likewise, so does Lambo. So they are aware that they're mirroring each other. They're aware that so far everything is above board. But from here, will anyone make an abundance of Lings? From here, will anyone kind of just rush into pure Ling, and not just pure Ling, but Ling Bane, and try to break the third base of the opponent? Or do we just chill? 4 Banelings are on the way here for Lambo. Quite a lot of Banelings, actually. Usually you make 2 defensive Banelings, but we're doubling down up to 4. Ling did slip into the main base to get a bit of a scout going off. Meanwhile, both players are still droning. SHIN going for a much faster Roach Warren, whereas Lambo, his is a little bit later. Just by a little bit, though. As for the most part, we are going to be dancing with each other. Lings, they have arrived. 2 of them will slip into the main base. They will get eyes on the timing of that Roach Warren. And the lack of additional gases, the lack of fast lair. Lambo backs off, and he's droning. We are just going to be calming things down here. Again, Lambo, he was really just looking for scouting information. He saw everything he needed to, and now he knows that he is safe and free to drone. Now, as Lambo is droning, we are not. SHIN is not. Zero saturation here at the third base. We are making nothing but roaches, and SHIN is looking to go for one big all-in. Cutting drones here at 35, and Lambo, he may have seen the saturation at the natural, the tech, the lack of additional gases in the main, but he didn't see the saturation at the third. And now we're sending it across the map. Lambo now knows immediately Spine Crawler. Spine Crawlers are on the way. Ling Bane as well. Roaches are in production, but the army is here. The army has arrived. Ay, ay, ay. And SHIN. Okay, so SHIN is droning behind this. Oh my god, he's droning up, yeah, quite a bit behind this, actually. He's going to be committing, don't get me wrong. Bailey's going to be rolling on in into the mineral line. Oh, they try to. The roaches have arrived. They take down a queen. They're going for another as well. Up. Almost really good connections there, but it looks like SHIN is being cleaned up. Yeah, it looks like SHIN, he's going to be forced back in the end here. Trying to get some decent connections. Doesn't lose too many roaches here in the retreat, but SHIN, he was able to force an overreaction with the Spine Crawler. He was able to trade relatively well. Looking at the units lost tab, he was able to snipe down two of those queens. But his bleeding out roaches, now Lambo is going for a big counterattack. Again, droning behind this. Both players have been droning this entire time, saturating their bases. SHIN was committed with his first push, that is true, but has since kind of pivoted away from that. Ooh, as Lambo is going to try to force his way up this ramp, and does he have enough? Again, he's not reinforcing with too much else, and it looks like he's going to be forced out of that third base. Ooh. And SHIN even focusing down a couple of extra roaches as well. So again, a bit of a back and forth so far. Both players have been bleeding out units. Both players have lost 5 workers, but I would say that SHIN is in a better position. SHIN, he's the one that killed queens as well as a bunch of lings. Lambo to recover. Gold base. Gold is on the way. I believe so far unscattered by SHIN as he's just saturating his third. Both players are just getting their drone counts back up and running, getting up to 3-base saturation. Roaches are going to be knocking down those rocks, and SHIN is very like-minded, going for his own goal base as well. The game is going to be settling from here. SHIN is looking for a way in. Lambo investing quite a lot here in the defense in these Spine Crawlers. It looks like, oh, the Ravager is going to finish up. Meanwhile, Spire. We have a Spire on the way. Muta's going to be in production here for SHIN. So yeah, getting into mutas is definitely a great way here to gain map control and gain momentum and just kind of strip it away from your opponent. And so far, unscattered. Overseers should be looking for scouts soon, and there it is. Overseers on the way for Lambo. This Overseer needs to get eyes on this Spire. Speaking of, we have Ragnarok, so SHIN going in for his own scout as well. Checking behind the main base, making sure that Lambo also isn't going for a Spire. But again, SHIN's scout is a little bit faster, and Lambo's scout is going to be a little bit late here. He should get eyes on the Spire itself, but it will have a little bit less time to react and respond. So there we go. He's making a beeline for the main base. Oh, based on his... Okay. I was like, based on his pathing, he may not be able to find the Spire itself. As we see SHIN being a little bit cheeky, he's going to be shut down. Meanwhile, we have the Overseer getting into the main base, and we do get eyes on that Spire. So Lambo knows. I see some people in the chat asking, like, yo, who's SHIN? Ragnarok. Yo, if you're asking who SHIN is, that's a self-report that you haven't been watching the CranKy Ducklings for the past 6 months. God damn it. Shaking my head. We cast SHIN on like a weekly basis. Aye, aye, aye. Here we go. Roaches, they are pushing out through the center of the map. SHIN going to be cutting workers a little bit earlier on here at 65. Mutas have hit the field. They're going to be hunting down these overlords, and we're going right for the kill. We're going right for that natural. Lambo out of position. He had no idea. He had no idea where the army was, and SHIN catches Lambo with his pants down. The army turning back around. The Roach Warren has fallen. Now we can dive on top of the army itself, and SHIN, he's snowballing out of control. Ay, ay, ay. Again, Lambo just not in position. He's making Hydras to reinforce, which is not ideal. Hydras, they can shut down Mutas, true, but they are lackluster against Roaches. Spine Crawler is going to be helping as we do kite back to it, but the ground army gets completely swallowed up. Again, SHIN catching him off guard. GG gets called, and SHIN, in one fell swoop, takes game number 1. Ooh. GG. And again, to be fair, the lead up was in favor of SHIN as well. You know, SHIN, he was able to trade better early on with his first push. He was able to snipe the queens, able to trade better against the lings and roaches, able to drone up a little bit stronger as a result. He was the first to drone up to 65. And yeah, SHIN just did snowball a bit out of control. Lambo, A little bit too preoccupied, taking up into those Hydras, and again, missing that attack, completely missing it through the center of the map. Again, thanks to the mutas. The mutas, they were able to just pull apart that army. I do very have to quickly... But how did I miss it? I don't know if I got it in time. As we are setting up our players and getting into game number 2. Getting into game numero dos here. Going to be on Oceanborn. Again, SHIN will be taking a lead in this series, but it's a best of 5. We have plenty of games ahead of us. I want to believe that Lambo can and will fight back. Some people are asking as well, why did he change his name to SHIN? As is being stated in the chat, SHIN is a part of his real name. It is a part of his real Korean name, and I guess it means that he does just want to identify as himself a little bit more. Maybe he's just not too interested in the foreigner ID of Ragnarok. He's like, nah, I just want to be myself. Nah, I can respect. I can respect. And here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the German Zerg player, the red Zerg representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Lambo. Spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is SHIN. Here we go. SHIN is... Ay. Not like this. But for now, we're going hatch first. Hatch gas pool once again here from both Lambo and SHIN. Openers should be quite normal here. Of course, for those wondering, SHIN, of course, he is one of the best Zerg players in South Korea. I would say that he's a little bit overshadowed by Dark and Solar, but I would say top 3 is SHIN. I would place him higher than DRG. I would place DRG as number 4, of course. Number 4, and yeah, SHIN is a terrifying opponent. He can take down any kind of player. He already took down Spirit early on. Now, with a lead here against Lambo, can Lambo fight back? In ZvZ specifically, I do think Lambo is quite strong as well. Of course, it's hard to really... ZvZ can be tricky just because it's so scouting oriented. It's so reliant on scouting and map control and map vision as well to keep an eye on your opponent's movement, your opponent's droning. But Lambo can be decisive in his own right. In the last game, SHIN was the first to be aggressive, but on a map like Oceanborn, where the rush distance is much shorter by ground, I can see Lambo cutting workers and being aggressive and assertive himself. I want to believe he can do that. I know SHIN will, but I want to believe that Lambo can as well. As here we go, Ling's going to be moving out across the map. Going to be checking that third base as well. As I say that, again, it was a hatch gas pool opener. Third base should be on the way from both players. A little bit later here from Lambo compared to SHIN, but only by a couple of seconds. Not the biggest of deals. As Lings do chip away at that third. Likewise, the same can be said here for SHIN. So again, both players just mirroring each other. Bailey nests are on the way. No one is crazy enough to skip the Bailey nest. Not yet. Not yet in this series. As it should soon be entering the Lingbane portion of the game. We'll see if anyone commits. We'll see if anyone tries to force the issue here. Remember, both players are playing from the same location, so ping is not really too much of a factor. Not too much. Earlier in the last series, we had a bit of a pause because of ping issues, but yeah, for the most part, it should be okay. Should be okay. Smooch. Well, I just realized, I need to change one of those text files. As the Roach Horns are now on the way as well. A couple of Lings going to be active here, moving out, just trying to vie for map control, but no major commitments here. Both players are still just focusing on drone production. They have enough Ling Bane to survive, enough Ling Bane. Oh, as a Bailing does get baited out. Very nicely done there by SHIN. Bit of miscontrol out of Lambo. Not the biggest of deals, but is forced to make an extra Bailey nest, and that does eat into your overall Roach count, just because gas is so precious here when it comes to Roach v Roach. He is so precious. There we go. Round 2. Beautiful. Just changing the round number because we're in round 2 of the knockout bracket. As Roach Warren is done, I believe Lambo has his own Roach Warren as well. Once again, SHIN is cutting workers early. Last game he cut workers at around 40. Oh, sorry, SHIN, I meant to say Lambo. Lambo is going to be cutting workers a little bit early on, making a wave of roaches. He's now getting back into droning though. But Lambo, he is the first to be aggressive. Now, he's just posturing really. He's faking out a push. He's moving out with roaches, yes, and lings. But he's droning behind this. So he's just kind of faking out his opponent, puffing up his chest, trying to force an overreaction. This happens quite often here in ZvZ. Lingbanes is going to be rolling on forward. Oh! We have to be very careful with our movement. Oh, another Baneling does get baited out there. So SHIN trading a little bit better. And again, Lambo backs up. He doesn't have anything. He only has 5 roaches. So he's going to retreat from here. And he did force a wave of roaches to be made. And because of that, Lambo is ahead. Lambo is now ahead in workers. Again, this is kind of a back and forth that we see very often in ZvZ, where you try to fake out your opponent into not droning. But now we have to kind of deal with the situation at hand. Now SHIN does have an army. Now he was forced to make all these roaches. Can he make use of them? For now, he is. He's cutting workers at 55. He's doubling down on roach production, +1, and roach speed is on the way. Ooh, Lambo is a little bit later with his own upgrade timings. That's a little bit concerning here, as SHIN will hit a much crisper timing soon with these upgrades. Meanwhile, Lambo going to be cutting workers at 57, now focusing on his roach production. There is going to be a window where SHIN has +1 and Lambo has 0-0. That is true. It's definitely true that that's going to be available here, but is it going to be enough? As we do see the upgrades soon to kick in. Again, SHIN still doubling down on roach production. Lambo likewise a little bit. Trying to break free from his supply block. A big wave of overlords just now helping out. And I appreciate that, again, Lambo, he's not being too greedy here. He is getting a 4th base, but he's still sticking to 57 workers, still just making nothing but roaches. +1 is done. And if we wait any longer, then Lambo is going to catch up. +1 still on the way for our Red Zerg player. Is SHIN going to push? SHIN going to push. Going to be taking his 4th. Still just amassing roaches. We have not started +2, which is concerning. Okay, there we go. +2 now starting, but could have been started much earlier. Much earlier here instead. And here we go. Lambo is going to be moving out. Looking at the armies. Lambo, he's going to be slightly behind in roaches, but he makes up for that in Ravagers. He has Ravagers. SHIN does not. There we go. We're diving on forward. Whiles, they will be grazing the army. And they force out some extra micro here from SHIN. And Lambo, he has the concave. He has the concave. He has the Biles as well, forcing the army forward. SHIN with the defender's advantage. Does he have enough? He's trying to break through. He's trying to dive on top of those Ravagers. He gets 1. He gets 2. And he's going to get all 3 Ravagers. But the roaches of Lambo, they barely do break through, do they, though? Oh. As we're running out of steam, reinforcements are on the way. SHIN, can he barely hold on? He barely will. Again, a bold move from SHIN to like dive through the army and get on top of those Ravagers. He was able to shut them down. Again, Lambo, he has had the slightly better economy this entire time. It doesn't look like a lot, but this entire time for the past like 3 or so minutes, he's been up 3 drones. Now we drone up a little bit further here, but Lambo has had the economic advantage that is reflected in the higher supply, in his abilities to actually even afford those Ravagers to begin with. And now we're working towards +2. Once again, though, there's going to be a window where SHIN has +2 and Lambo doesn't. That is going to be a scary moment, as both players are droning. Lambo, the first to drone, he drones up to 67, 10 workers over his opponent, getting his 4th base up and running. So again, Lambo able to find the room to get a better economy. Meanwhile, SHIN still staying on a low worker count instead, building up his Roach Ravager. Again, Lambo is on 4-6 gases basically, and SHIN only on 5. We'll see if Lambo can get away with this. As again, it does mean that if both players max out, SHIN will have the larger army, but Lambo's going to be able to have the bigger bank and be able to remax faster. Here we go, the armies are going to be clashing. Val's going to be zoning Shin back. And we're going to be committing. Oh, we take the Val's to the face. Both players do. As Lambo, he stands his ground. Gonna try and deal with this again. Shin has the upgrade advantage. He has +2 over the +1 of Lambo. This upgrade timing, is it enough? Up. No, it's not. It is not enough. The concave was just too great. At the same time, though, drones did go down. And with that, the worker count's gonna be evening up. Drones did fall here towards the left-hand side. But Lambo still with an economic lead, saturating his 4th base. Shin also rotating over with his own drones. +2 is about to finish up here for Lambo. He's keeping up with Shin. Burrow on the way. Tunneling claws as well. That is a good way to kind of like catch your opponent off guard, definitely. Shin, he checks saturation. He sees the mining 4th. Still getting into his own 4th as well. Oh, the contamination. The contamination on tunneling claws. You love to see it. Lambo, he's aware, of course, that he needs detection now. Overseers are on the way. Wow, they take down an Overlord. A Lambo with momentum right now. Tying up those upgrades with the larger supply. It should be a numbers game at this point. We should be able to break on through. Files, they're going to be connecting. Oof. They do connect from both players. But last, again, Lambo, he's breaking on through. He has an overwhelming Roach army. Again, the better economy leads to that. And Lambo will be tying up the series 1-1. Whew. GG. We have a series, papi. GG, well played. Again, Lambo, throughout all of that, throughout almost the entire game, he was able to get away with just having a higher worker count overall. At times, not as high, but at other times, you know, up to 10+ workers over his opponent. And on top of that, Shin was trying to make use of his upgrade timings, but it just was not enough. It was not enough to kind of leverage that economic deficit that Lambo had. Sorry, that Shin had. This kind of reminds me of like a laser's mantra of upgrades in ZvZs, where a laser would always prefer, especially early on, I know like eventually he would get into upgrades, but early on he would always prefer having more roaches than even having +1 or +2. And that would kind of like favor him in the long run. And yeah, it's something that people would sometimes meme on just because of the delayed upgrades from a laser. But you know, there's at times truth to that. And yeah, Lambo, who was able to take advantage of that, able to take some better fights, able to snowball into a win. GG. GG, well played. With that, we are tied up 1-1. We're getting ready for game number 3. Game number 3. And we're almost done as well. I say we're almost done. I was checking earlier, so we only have permission here to cover the knockout bracket. Only the knockout bracket. And yeah, there's not actually that many matches remaining here. As we're here in round 2. Up ahead of us, we have round 3 as well. And that's it. Like last night we were casting for 10 hours, papi, covering all of the open stage. So this is a lot more lighter here. It feels a lot more carefree. I mean, I say that like, you know, just I can invest a little bit more energy early on. I don't have to like conserve myself for a longer broadcast. We can hibernate a little bit. I mean, so we don't have to hibernate. We can let it all out, papi. Let it all out. It also means I can get to sleep pretty early today. And when I say early, I mean like 5 or 6 a.m. It's gonna be beautiful. I get to sleep. I get to sleep today. Let's go. Is Shin really 12 years old? He's younger than SC2. they're memeing. Shin, he's like 28. Oh my god. They're memeing. Let's get a number on this. Looks like our players need a little bit of time to set up their lobby. Shin is 27. Sorry, I was 1 year off. Shin is 27. Again, Shin has been a pro gamer for a very long time. Very long time. Since the very beginning of SC2. I don't know if Shin was a Brood War pro gamer, but I know he was active since 2011 at least, here in StarCraft 2. So Shin, aka Ragnarok. Maybe Ragnarok is a name that you're a little bit more familiar with. If so, he name changed. Did a name change to his IRL name? And we're just waiting for that lobby to be thrown down. It looks like we have our lobby. And again, big shout out to, of course, the mainstream and the B stream as well. The mainstream and the B stream for, of course, covering on their end. Whew, just barely got it. God, every time I get into the lobby, I gotta be quick. I gotta be quick, Pappy. As we are loading into Game 3. Again, our players just needed a little bit of moments to gather themselves. Oh, good. More than happy to wait. And here we go. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Hardlead, we have the German Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Lambo. Tying up the series 1-1. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player. From South Korea, not Estonia. I know what was being said in the chat. From South Korea, we have, representing Mystery Gaming, used to go by Ragnarok, it is SHIN. Our player matches are going to be played today. Yes, some of them will. I believe only the first round. I believe only the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Not the semis or the finals. As we do settle into this, once again, hatch gas pool openers. No one is bold enough to go for a 12 pool or 13-12 or 12-11. No one is bold enough to do that, so yeah, for now, just standard openers here all around. This is what we expect to be seeing here. Sure, there are times where players can cut workers early on, but for the most part, standard openers all around. Aggression is typically off of 2 bases at this level of play. And we'll keep our eyes here on both SHIN and Lambo, especially as we load into Hardlead. This is something we bring up very often, but Hardlead does have a very short rush distance by ground. Ground aggression is very common, it's very popular here on Hardlead, and I expect that to be the case in this ZvZ as well. This usually leads into all-ins against either Terran or Protoss players, but in a ZvZ, again, we can hit some pretty crisp timings. You can cut workers early on, make an abundance of roaches, try to lure your opponent into a false sense of security, and then just bam, come out with a massive army and look to end it. We'll see if that's going to be the case here. SHIN, Estonian 12-year-old born in 2011. Oh my god. Played Brood War in the womb, confirmed. Youngest pro gamer. True. Animals. As Lings are moving out. They'll be coming across each other. Getting a bit of damage done here before continuing to go in for their scouts. Again, these things, their role here is to just get eyes on the Bailey Nest timing, the third base timing as well. Just checking each other, confirming. The third base is on the way. And we're being as annoying as possible here before being forced away. Lambo throws down his own Bailey Nest. SHIN, not too far behind with his own. Getting his Bailey Nest up and running. So once again, no one is crazy enough to try to skip their Bailey Nest and get into fast roaches instead, which can be a very risky thing to do. It does happen from time to time, even at this level. It does happen, but again, for now, everyone is above board. Ooh, as SHIN is going to be making an extra wave of Lings here. He's still droning behind it, but a wave of Lings nonetheless. He can push out, can try and be a little bit more assertive. As we do have a deviation. Okay, so Lambo is going straight for a Roach Warren, which is what we've been seeing so far. This entire series here, just going straight into that Roach Warren as quickly as we can. SHIN delays his Roach Warren by going for a faster Evo Chamber. Interesting. Still going for the Roach Warren behind this. Are we going for +1 Carapace? It's lined up for it. This is looking a little bit old school. No, +1 range. Okay, never mind. If it was Carapace, it would have been a Ling Roach all-in that was very prevalent at the start of the year, but has since fallen off. Instead, we're getting to a very fast +1 range. Very strong timing is upon us. I'm very curious to see when and if SHIN does cut workers. For now, Lair is in production. We do have a gas being taken as well. Lambo getting into his own roaches as well. Again, Lambo with the faster roach one means faster roaches in general. And are we going to be committing here? That's always the question we have to ask. Because at times, even if we make a wave of roaches, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, droning behind it. So, just like we saw in the previous game, Lambo, he is pushing with roaches. He has faster roaches as well. He's trying to strike fear into the heart of SHIN with the amount of roaches that are pushing out. And behind it, Lambo is just droning. He's just droning on up. Armies going to be clashing. Bailings just barely do make it through. And Lambo is hoping to force an overreaction from his opponent. Roaches are being forced out, and Lambo shouldn't be committing. He just rocks up here at the front door, turns around, and leaves. He's like, alright, you know, I was just going for a walk. I was just going for a stroll. Don't mind me. Backs the hell off, goes back home, and again has a fully saturated third base. Lambo droning up to 6. Oh, this is maybe a bit too much. Lambo throwing caution to the wind, taking gases, droning up to 60 workers. Meanwhile, SHIN can still hit a very strong timing with +1. Is cutting workers at 44. Barely any saturation at this third base. And the question becomes, after these overloads are made, are we committing? And yes, we are. Unlike what Lambo just did, SHIN isn't going for a walk. Like, he's not puffing up his chest. This is for real. We are committing here. SHIN, there's no economy behind this. Lambo confirms that, and Lambo may just have been too greedy. We'll see. Here we go. SHIN is pushing forward. Again, that +1 is going to be a factor in this fight. Bailings are in the way, they are on the way as well. Pushing on through. Lambo, he does have a decent roach army here. He's making nothing but roaches. The Bailings, they will crash in. They do get some damage done. The Lings come in to reinforce as well. SHIN is breaking through. He's forcing back the army of Lambo. We do have a spine crawler behind this. It's going to be buying some time, but we get this around. The Queen goes down. Reinforcements are on the way. The boys are being pulled. We can afford to lose drones. This is okay. We can pull the boys. We just have to survive. And it looks like with our reinforcements, Lambo, he is holding. Yeah, he's going to clean this up. He's going to force this back. We have more Ling reinforcements, but not enough roaches behind this. SHIN with his all-in. Was all in. And was not able to punish the greed here of Lambo. Lambo got away with murder there. He just got away with so much droning, so much economy. And now he can focus on his army. He's still making more drones, by the way. He's it's crazy. Is making more workers. Just making up for, you know, the spine crawls, the gases being taken earlier. And SHIN has a lot of recovering to do. SHIN, he's still down almost 20 drones. He has +1. Sure, that's great and all, but Lambo, we spoke about it earlier. You know, it's not always about the upgrades. And now we can catch up with a better economy with 1-1. +1 range and +1 carapace. We have a fourth base on the way as well. Lambo getting out of control. Now, Lambo, he doesn't have to push out right now. Like, he can just chill. He can chill and just maintain his economy, be the first to max out. It's a numbers game at this point. The onus is not on Lambo. The onus is on SHIN. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on SHIN to make something happen. You can see that he's not even fully droning. He's afraid of a counterattack, so he's making drones and roaches at the same time. His production is split right now, so he's not even himself recovering by saturating his third base. He's just stuck in a really awkward position. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he only makes army, then he's just going to fall behind. If he only makes drones, then he can just die to an all-in, or just die to a push. So SHIN is being very middle of the road. He does deny the fourth. Very nicely done. Does deny the fourth base. Overseer comes in, confirms saturation at the third, confirms lack of fourth. Lambo's going to be feeling pretty good. And you can see that over time, the gap in supply has been getting larger and larger. Lambo is now up 30 supply. And it's going to get even larger as well. Because again, Lambo, he's already finished droning. He supply blocks SHIN. And Lambo can now focus on building up his army. 66 drones is all you need right now. It's all Lambo needs. And he's looking to hit a timing with 1-1. Doesn't want to push out before it. 1-1 is on the way. We just build up the Roach Ravager army. He's already maxed out. He's already at 200 supply. Lambo is already maxed out at this point, so we may as well push. We come across the Lings. We clean them up. SHIN just now breaking free from his supply block. These Lings are buying some time, to be fair. They are buying time, and SHIN, he needs that time to rebuild. There we go. More Roaches, more Ravagers on the way. Lambo still up 40 supply. And we're going to knock down this 4th base. Yeah, the 4th is not long for this world. SHIN, he has to engage. He has to push in. But alas, it is not going to be enough. We force a cancel on the 4th. Biles are going to be buying some time. That's a lot of Overlords. The Biles. If we wanted to, we can just focus the Biles on the Overlords instead. We dive on the army. We keep up with the movement as well. Good positioning there from Lambo. GG gets called, and Lambo will take game number 3. Taking a 2-1 lead. GG. GG, well played. Again, SHIN was all in with that +1 timing, and he had cut his workers, what is that, 45 drones. Sent everything across the map to end the game, and Lambo, he was wise enough to invest into spine crawlers. He had drone up quite heavily, up to 60, but it was very quick to just, from that moment, switch into Roach production, bring his queens forward, pull the boys when he needed to. Remember, he could afford to lose workers. That was more than okay for Lambo to lose. And after that hold, Lambo was in a beautiful position. From that moment, all he had to do was just make sure that he didn't lose any additional workers, right? There was no pressure on him. He could just smooth sailings then on forward, working his upgrades, getting his 4th, maxing out. GG. Solid game from Lambo. And with that, we can now get into our next game. Game number 4 on Hecate. Let's go. Alright, we got the names. We got the names just in time. Just in time. And now we're getting into potentially the final game of the series. Lambo, he is 1 game away from making it into round 3 of the knockout bracket. 1 more loss, and SHIN, his tournament run ends here. Again, single elimination. 1 and done. Best of luck. I'm hoping for an ace match, but not on me. It's on our players. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Hecate, we have our German Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Shopify Rebellion. 1 game away from advancing on. It is Lambo. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player representing Mystery Gaming. It is SHIN. He needs to come back. He needs to come back here and now. He needs to win this game to force the ace match. The pressure is on. Let's go. For now, hatch first. We're getting into our standard openers here, but again, it's all on SHIN to bounce back and to force a game 5. Personally, regardless of how this goes, one way or the other, I would love to see a game 5 between these two. We'll see if we can get it. But again, it's happened a couple of times this series where Lambo, he's so good at like faking out his opponent, where he just makes a handful of roaches, pushes out, forces an overreaction. He did it on Oceanborn as well, if you recall. Did occur on Oceanborn. Or was it SHIN that did it on Oceanborn? Someone did it on Oceanborn. And again, it's a very common tactic here. Now, the scary thing, though, the problem is that, like, if you try to call their bluff, and the problem is, what if they're not bluffing? Like, what if you're like, nah, you're not going to attack me? What are you doing right now? I'll just drone. And I was like, oh, never mind. Oh, there is an army knocking down my front door, and I have nothing left because I droned up. So it is, like, a very risky thing to do, and it is difficult to read as well. It's why scouting is so important here in this game, in ZvZ, I should say, in this matchup. When it comes to recognizing whether or not an opponent is droning or not, and how saturated their natural and third base is. Like, even saturation at the third isn't enough, because we have seen many Zerg players fake it out and just Maynard over from their natural to their third, and just make it look like they're droning when they're doing anything but. Solo does that often. Solar, he loves that. In ZvZ. A good way to mask an all-in. But for now, hatch gas pool. Standard opener here from Lambo. Standard opener out of SHIN. Lings are moving out. They're going to be facing off here in the center of the map. Oh. SHIN getting some extra hits in before going out for that scout. And again, their goal here, just to get eyes on the third base timing, just get eyes on the Baneliness as well. Just making sure everything's on the up and up.
The hive cluster is under attack.
So they are going to be confirming that everything is looking normal. Hero over hero, let's go. SHIN, he did just check the Baneliness timing as well, so he's aware. Likewise, Lambo still hasn't checked that natural, but he soon will as he dips in with his Lings. And there we go, he does get eyes on the Baneliness as well. Meanwhile, SHIN is going to be, oh my god, committing quite hard. That's 16 Lings on the way. Here we go, finally some Ling Bane aggression. So far this series, it's been all about the Roach Ravager. But no, this time it's about the Lings. SHIN pulling the trigger. And Lambo, he does see the Lings moving out with the Overlord. He's aware. Back at home, Banelings are on the way. He has one Baneling about to finish up. He has two more on the way. And we'll see how good these connections are going to be. It's going to be all about the Banelings, all about the trades, all about the control. First Baneling does move on forward. A decent connection. Taking down 6 Lings. Not bad. Not too bad here. Meanwhile, the Banelings of SHIN coming in as well, zoning away the army. The Queens are in position, and Lambo does not allow SHIN in. And SHIN behind this is droning. He committed a little bit hard to this, don't get me wrong, but he's going to be backing off. He did force a big commitment here from Lambo. Now the roles have been reversed. SHIN has been droning, Lambo overmade Lings, and now we need to make it worth his while. Banelings are on the way. Oh, they're coming in from behind. Up! One Baneling goes off, and Lambo, he breaks in. He takes down the Banelings. No shot. He gets into the natural base as well. The Queen is under fire. There's not much here to defend. The boys have to be pulled. Roaches are on the way. Can we save these drones? It looks like we can. The Roaches that came out just in time. That was almost disastrous. That was almost game. If we had gotten a surround on the Queen, if we had gotten into that mineral line, that was so close. But SHIN, he survives. Again, he's going to be droning up behind this. Likewise, so is Lambo. SHIN with a bit of a higher worker count. Lambo investing a little bit harder into his own Roaches. Investing a little bit harder. As the game is going to settle from there. that was a scary moment. But we're good. We are good here as Lambo is going to be pushing. How many Roaches do we have? We have 12 Roaches here for Lambo. Moving through the center of the map. Behind this, droning and getting a lair. And an Evo chamber as well. So Lambo, he's just posturing. Once again, trying to force a reaction before, yeah, just before backing up. Did force out a couple of Roaches, but not too many. SHIN, he's still likewise droning as well. So this time, SHIN was able to call his bluff. He's just saturating his third. And SHIN even has still maintains his worker lead, by the way. So SHIN, not in a bad position here. Lair is done. Roach speed should soon be on the way. +1 range now starting up here for Lambo. Ooh, and I was curious. I was like, where is Roach speed for SHIN? I was curious where it was. It was delayed here. For what? For Aspire. Here we go. Show us the Mutas. Mutas are going to be on the horizon here for SHIN. Spire is on the way. Now, once the lair finishes, we have Overlord speed. Overlord speed is on the way. We need the scouts. We need to morph in an Overseer immediately and try to get a read on what's going on. There it is. Overseer is on the way. Overlord speed still in production. And Lambo, he needs to get eyes on this Spire. Oh, as he's going to be going for some Drop-A-Lords. Oh my god, some Baneling drops even. Overseer comes in. SHIN likewise just making sure that there's no Spire from Lambo. Spire soon about to finish up. But again, Lambo, he didn't just get Overlord speed for the scout, he also got it for the drops. Overseer confirming nothing in the main. Overseer gets to the natural, gets eyes on the Spire. Lambo, he has the information he needs. He's going for his own drop as well. And SHIN, does he have eyes on this? Can he split in time? It looks like he should. Up! He does react, he does pull back. But the Overlord on the hunt, and we do drop on top of the roaches. We get a couple of drones as well. 4 workers go down, and we're still not done. Up! Unamas! 6 drones. Oh, that was so close here to disaster, but 6 workers is not too bad. Lambo takes a worker lead. Oh, that Lambo does get supply blocked after losing that, unfortunately. But regardless, pretty good drop here. A lot of lost mine time as well. Meanwhile, Lambo, he's getting into his own Hydra Den. So Hydra Den is done. Hydra upgrades on the way. I appreciate that Lambo hasn't made any Hydras yet. So he's working on upgrades, yes. But he knows that he can't really waste resources on Hydras unless there are mutas. Speaking of, we do have a couple of mutas on the field, but only 5. Only enough for map control. Only enough to shut down Overlords. There we go. We have a handful of Hydras in production, but really we have to focus on Roach Ravager. Remember, it's only 5 mutas, so we cannot overreact. Those that are curious, when it comes to Roach versus Hydra, Roaches win. Like, Roach Ravager is more of an efficient ground army compared to Hydras in this matchup. So if you make too many Hydras, you will just die to the ground army. So Lambo has to be very careful. Thankfully, he's still making Roaches. Like, he's aware that he only needs a handful of Hydras here. Those mutas, they do dive in between the bases. Mutas are being thinned away. And SHIN, he does outposition Lambo. He dives into the base, and this hatchery is gonna go down. Big pick off here from SHIN. Lambo wants to dive on this, though. Can he punish this push here? As he shaves off a couple of roaches in the retreat. But SHIN, he's got his 4th up and running. Has a gas geyser, has it mining as well. 75 drones. That's quite a large worker count. So usually in ZvZ, we cut workers early. We cut workers at 66. That's 3 base saturation. We usually don't actually saturate the 4th base, so SHIN is going to have a smaller army. Oh, but once again, out positioning Lambo here. He's not quite where he needs to be, and the roaches, they get into the main base, into the natural, and the 3rd as well. At the same time, the main army pushes towards the 4th. SHIN looking to pull Lambo apart. Tunneling claws is done. Queens are going down. Drones as well. And Lambo is just having a hard time keeping up. Oh my god. Too much damage being done here. 8 workers and counting. And Lambo, he's just pushing out instead. He wants to try to counterattack. Spore has been sniped. Detection is required. We do have an Overseer, thankfully. Roaches are being cleaned up. Meanwhile, SHIN once again moving forward. The mutas cleaned up the Overlords. There's no scouting whatsoever, no vision on this side of the map, and the hatchery is denied once again. Again, SHIN just taking advantage of the fact that the mutas cleaned up every single Overlord. But Lambo, he's had enough. He's down to sub 60 workers. He's down to 49 drones, and he's been making units. Lambo is super maxed. He is up in armor supply. All or nothing here for Lambo. Files are going to be dodged from both players. So far, good movement here. Lambo is going to try to force the issue up this ramp. And it looks like he can barely break through. Back at home, he's losing every single drone, but he does break through the army. Again, Lambo with the higher supply. He breaks through the army, getting on top of the 4th base as well. The boys are being pulled. Yeah, so many drones are going down. And Lambo, has he done it? Oh, reinforcements come in. SHIN's holding. He lost every single drone here at his 4th base. But he survives. And again, like, Lambo doesn't have many workers to begin with, so SHIN doesn't need drones. He needs army. Lambo still higher in army supply. Back at home, getting his bases stabilized. Getting a 4th base behind this as well. Does find a way up the ramp. SHIN not able to keep up with the army rotation. Yeah, we get up the ramp. Files are going to be, oh my god, raining down on the army of Lambo, though. Lambo, though, still has the higher supply. He's trying to break through. He avoids the Biles, and he's doing it. Lambo, he's getting on top of the Ravagers. He has broken the army here of SHIN. Lambo with the better upgrades as well, with 2-1 instead of the 2-0. And it looks like he has done it. He's broken the back of SHIN. SHIN being too greedy, droning up too much. Again, it's not really seen too often in ZvZ to drone up to over 70. He just didn't have the armor supply he needed. He did a great job harassing, but again, was just too greedy behind it. And Lambo with the punish. Pushing in towards the natural. I'm loving the change things as well, just walling off that main base. They were walling off the natural earlier as well. Lambo with the moves. And he has broken the natural. GG gets called. Lambo will be taking the series 3-1, advancing on in the knockout bracket. GG. GG, well played. Whew. Lambo, there was a lot of pressure on him. There was a lot of pressure. He was losing drones left and right. He went down to 54 drones. Barely a 3-base economy. Not even a 3-base economy. But he had doubled down on just pure Roach, Ravager, Hydra. He had the numbers on his side. He had the upgrades on his side. And Shin had, on top of that, droned up a little bit too much as well. So numbers-wise, he just could not keep up with the supply, with the army of Lambo. And Lambo snowballed out of control. And to be fair, there was a lot of pressure on him. If the game went on longer, Lambo would fall behind. So he had to make something happen then and there. He was committed. And he baited. He pulled it off. GG. Congratulations. GG. Congratulations to Lambo. My condolences to Shin, our 12-year-old Estonian player. My condolences to Shin as Lambo does advance on here in the knockout bracket to the next round where he has, I believe, an opponent ready and waiting. Let me just double check here, but Lambo, he is going to be going up against... just double check. He's going to be going up against Classic in a ZVP. Oh boy, the winner of that series advances on to the playoff bracket, and that is where the big money is. So best of luck, Lambo. Going to be going against Classic in that next round. He has a little bit of time to himself, though, to settle into that. And we may be able to find ourselves another series. Oh, as we already have... as it looks like we had a pretty fast one. Oliveira did take down Harstem 3-0. That was a very fast best of 5, faster than our one. And I assume that our ZvZ would be one of the faster series here. My condolences to Harstem. You know, it is the hashtag year Harstem. My condolences as he does meet his end at the hands of Oliveira. But Oliveira is the reigning world champion. So Oliveira, he advances on into a qualifying match, essentially, into the final round of the knockout bracket. Lambo likewise does the same. And I believe the B stream and the main stream are covering, sorry, the B stream is covering Hero versus Hero, and the main stream is covering Creator versus Gumiho. So it's a bit of a shame because I was hoping, I'll let you in. I was hoping that especially because we were following Shin. I didn't want to jump around. So I wanted to follow Shin into Lambo, but part of me was also hoping that because it's a ZvZ, maybe it'd be a fast one, and maybe we would be able to squeeze ourselves into Harstem versus Oliveira if it was more back and forth. Unfortunately, not the case. Unfortunately, we won't be able to cover the tail end of Oliveira and Harstem because they've also wrapped up themselves, and yeah, that was a 3-0 in favor of Oliveira. And with that, we are going to be settling into this. With that, we're going to be going on a short break. We are going to be going on a short break. We're going to be going on a short break here. When we return, we will have round 3. Basically, we're waiting for round 2 to wrap up, and then we'll be diving on round 3 as soon as we can. We're diving into round 3 as soon as we can. So yeah, with that, we're going to be taking a break. Take this moment to stretch your roaches, hydrate your hydras, massage your marines, and when we return, we'll have our final series of our broadcast. I'm not too sure what we're going to be getting into. I will try to follow Lambo into Classic. But the main stream and the B stream have priority. They have priority. They can pick what they want, and we get whatever's left over. So I'm tentatively saying that if it's available, I will jump on Lambo versus Classic, but it's not on me, it's not my call, it's on the main stream and the B stream, so we'll see. We'll see what does happen. Until then, we're going to be going on a bit of an extended break while we wait for all of round 2 to finish, and we'll see you guys after the break. Enjoy. Check out the other streams, check out the B stream, check out the main stream, and we'll see you guys then. Hasta luego.